Our next story brings us to lively downtown Cedar Rapids. Just up from the banks of the Cedar River, the downtown district is home to many small businesses. The river provides a natural beauty, but for many business owners in the area, it serves as a constant reminder of nature's power. Bimm, formerly Iowa Screen Print, makes licensed apparel for major and minor league baseball teams. When Gary Ficken and Dave Phillip decided to purchase a screen printing business, they didn't have a lot of experience. Gary had worked in sales at other screen print companies, but neither of them were qualified to run the production equipment.
Well, I think we went into it pretty blind. We didn't have any production experience. We didn't have any finance experience running a business. So we went into it pretty naive, or young and stupid, whatever you want to call it. But it never worried us. We didn't think about failing.
As a kid, Gary worked for the local minor league baseball team, the Cedar Rapids Reds, now the Colonels. Gary used this relationship to pick up their first sports apparel contract. Other teams in the league took notice in the quality of the Reds' apparel and started calling on Gary.
During that next off season, a couple GMs that were in the same league as Cedar Rapids, they called, liked the merchandise we were selling there, and asked if we'd be interested in doing their teams for the next season. Yeah, you bet we were.
Then, in the early 90s, minor league baseball created a licensing program for their apparel. To keep their contracts, Gary and Dave would now need a license.
So we contacted minor league baseball, and their view on us was, who are you guys? And, we understand you're doing more than one team. We'll give you a regional license, basically the Midwest. And we wanted a national license. We wanted to go for it.
After appealing to the head of the licensing committee, Iowa Screen Print was granted a full national license.
It gave us a chance to work with close to 200 baseball teams. We can approach any team, go after their business. Not going to do that without the license, so it opened up some big doors for us.
Gary and Dave's business was quickly expanding. They had to work day and night to keep up with the demand.
We were printing for minor league baseball and around the country, and Michael Jordan retired from the NBA and wanted to try a career in baseball. So he went to the Birmingham Barons in Alabama to start his minor league career. And we started printing shirts that would have the Birmingham Barons on the front and number 23 on the back. Well, they went pretty well. So we would normally, during the day, print our regular workload and come back at night and print some 23s on the back of shirts. And the general manager at Birmingham was having customers complaining that the little trademark line said at that point the name of the company was Iowa Screen Print. And he had a lot of people come up to him and complain, why are you bringing that product in from Iowa? Why don't you get it here in Birmingham or at least Alabama?
Gary and Dave needed to remove Iowa from their trade line. Finding a suitable name that fit their business and personality would prove harder than expected. So they decided to go in a different direction.
My partners knew a kid that when they grew up, they had a kid in the neighborhood, his name was Bimm. And unfortunately for that kid, he was kind of classified as kind of the dork or geek of the neighborhood. And when we started this business, we didn't really know exactly what we were doing. None of us had any fashion sense. So we kind of figured, Well, Bimm Ritter, we won't need a name search on that, and translated, dork, geek, sportswear, perfect for us. So we went with it.
The newly named Bimm Ritter was continuing to score big hits in Major and Minor League Baseball, as well as other sports. Things were going great, and the company was growing. Then, in the summer of 2008, disaster struck.
You know, they were painting a picture of, yeah, we're going to have flooding in Cedar Rapids, and, you know, it's going to be record level. You know, the utility companies were coming in and turning the power and gas and electric, turning all that off. IT guy had tried to get there earlier that day, couldn't, so he called me, and I happened to be at work, and said, grab the server. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We're gonna get some water in the parking lot, maybe. The server will be fine. Well, he argued with me to do it. That was the first thing that saved the company. The parking lot in our building were under 11 feet of water. So nobody had prepared for that. Nobody. And you walk in and it was pure destruction. You know, the flood leaves a smell that is unique to a flood. That we'll never forget that smell.
It's just like getting hit real hard in the stomach. There's not words for it. It's absolute devastation.
Upon seeing the catastrophic damage to their business, Gary and Dave began the process of picking up the pieces. Sadly for them, their challenges were far from over.
Government came in just a few days later, and the SBA, and they come in and they have a loss team, and they figure out what your loss is. And our equipment loss was $1.2 million. I guess by 2008, I was still pretty naive on some business matters. I figured we'd get some insurance, a decent amount of insurance money on that. What I didn't know, and come to find out, that on a $1.2 million loss, we got a $70,000 insurance check because a flood is a non-covered event. It definitely gives you pause, and you have to really think things through. Is it best that we open, or is it best that we don't reopen?
Without insurance, Gary and Dave turned to the government for help. The Small Business Administration was only able to provide them with a loan.
And then when you learn that when the SBA comes in and does loans, they put liens on your homes. So now, not only are we risking the business, our livelihood, but to go back in business, now we've thrown our home into the risk category.
Gary and Dave decided to keep the doors open. Even with all of their own problems, it was clear to Gary that Bimm Ritter was not the only business that needed help.
It started to settle in how many businesses were affected and how many jobs were at risk. They did surveys, and over 12,000 jobs were touched by the flood. A handful of business owners tried to contact as many people as they could, use the media as a mouthpiece, and said, let's get together. We're going to need to help each other for Cedar Rapids not to be gravely affected by this.
Gary played a key role in organizing other flood-affected businesses and formed the Small Business Recovery Group. Initially, the group was a way for businesses to communicate and pool resources. As president of the recovery group, it became clear to Gary that sharing resources and sending work to other flood-affected businesses was not going to be enough.
We needed money and not loans. And that's when the recovery group kind of changed its focus from helping each other we need to go after local, state, and federal government, and we need to make our case why they have to help us.
After 5.5 years of meeting and lobbying local and federal government, the Small Business Recovery Group was able to secure an unprecedented $85 million in government aid. It was predicted that 55% of the businesses affected by the flood would close. But with the help of Gary and the Small Business Recovery Group, only 18% actually did. Since then, many recovery programs across the country have used their concepts. Through all the hardships, Gary kept Bimm on course.
I can't think of anyone else I'd rather have sitting in that office. He really got us through a tough time. Getting through the flood and making all the correct decisions to keep us afloat was huge. I don't know anyone else that could have done it. None of us could have done it besides him.
I mean, I honestly believe this. It's part of being an Iowan, but the natural reaction is you want to help. You know, not only yourself, but you want to help others too.
With the help of their great employees, Gary and Dave are back in action. Not only did they manage to save their business, they also helped save hundreds of other businesses in Cedar Rapids. As Gary said, it's all part of being an Iowan. MBAcentral.org recently ranked Des Moines in the top 50 entrepreneur-friendly cities in the country. Des Moines boasts an above-average concentration of small businesses, as well as a highly educated workforce. Our next Iowa entrepreneur story takes us to the heart of the capital city and features Katie Patterson, owner of Happy Medium. Happy Medium is an interactive advertising agency. Like traditional agencies, Katie and her staff help clients with advertising needs in print, radio, and television. But where they found their niche was in digital and social media. Growing up, Katie never thought she would be an entrepreneur. But in 2011, while working behind the scenes at a TV station, she was presented with an opportunity.
I worked at Channel 13. I was an account executive. One of my largest clients there decided they wanted some help, and rather than going and working for them, I decided to start my own company with some encouragement from friends and have them potentially be my only client. And then quickly after that, I had several other clients come and ask me for some help, so I took on some more clients, and by July of 2011, I had to decide either no more clients or I was going to add a team member to help me, which was not in my original business plan.
Katie knew the importance of having a good first year in order to create a strong foundation for future growth. She had to sacrifice and spend many long hours in the office to help put her business in a position to succeed.
I was fortunate and started the company with a pretty strong client, which really helped, of course. And every single time we'd get paid from them, it would go towards that initial payroll. Our first office was at a very, very low rent, tight quarters. At the end of it, we were 8 people in about 550 square feet. So we were definitely in a startup environment, but everybody was on board with that and really excited about that. So keeping those costs, really low and always being super sensitive down to the penny has definitely made a huge effect on getting us to where we're at now.
Another challenge entrepreneurs face is hiring good employees that buy into their company vision. Katie needed to surround herself with a group of professionals that truly cared about Happy Medium as a company. Katie invested many hours training her staff, unfortunately to see some of them take other jobs only after a couple of months. This revolving door of employees made it hard to get continuity with the business.
I think one of the biggest things we found over my 3 years here has been hiring is extremely difficult, and it's something we're getting much better at. It's been kind of rough in the get-go as far as getting people on board and finding the right chemistry. And And that's really tough. I don't know what the answer is other than you just kind of got to stick through it and bear down on what your values are as a company, and eventually you'll get there. I think we're getting there and we're almost there.
Looking to solve the problem of finding the right people to join her team, Katie decided to rely on her trusted longtime employees to help her with the hiring process.
What I look for when we're hiring somebody is completely opposite now of when I first started hiring people. I was terrible at hiring 4 years ago, and it was rough, but now we have an internal leadership team, so the 4 of us are the heavy handholders in that entire process, and nobody gets hired here without us all 4 agreeing on that first of all. We now have set company values, and so we make sure that those final candidates really live and breathe by those, and we don't necessarily hire only on skill set. So if they have a fantastic skill set, but culturally we feel like they won't be a good fit, we're comfortable with saying, no to that now. Even on times when I'm not here, every person on this team is always making really, really strong company decisions, and I don't have to be here to force that or encourage that or ask them about that. They're completely on their own, just so dedicated to our company and culture. And we just look for people that we feel like are going to fit into that.
As Happy Medium grows, Katie has found it crucial to find employees that understand and appreciate the need for collaboration in order to be successful. Katie believes in continued education for her team and encourages them to attend web development and social media conferences all over the world. But Happy Medium is a young company in every sense of the word, with most employees under the age of 30. Katie isn't concerned about the years of experience on a resume because she is a young female entrepreneur herself.
It's always a question or kind of an internal struggle of, does it matter that I'm a woman, or does it matter that our owner and founder is the oldest person at this company and she's 33 years old? But we just have to kind of put that out of our minds and remind ourselves that we know what we're doing and that we are the best for this project. And I think the confidence that we have and the information that we come in with and the research that we've done and the fact that we're just really willing to work immediately, I think is what sets us apart.
I feel like I both battle being a female and being under 35 and running the company. When we go into a pitch with a lot of other agencies, they're bringing in their owner who's practically retired, and definitely a male primarily. And so we just look physically different a lot of times when we're lining up in pitches, and that can both play well for us and, be hard for us. But I think as often as being a female can be a hindrance or a problem in the workplace, there's also a lot of positives to it that I gain. So I am quick to not say it's just only terrible. There's a lot of really, really supportive people of working with females and a lot of great, fantastic groups that offer so much support that, other people don't have.
Happy Medium was named Best Workplace for Young Professionals by the Greater Des Moines Partnership and noted by Inc. magazine as the fastest growing Iowa company in 2015. Katie has also earned Business Record's Best Up-and-Coming Business Leader Award. She is a mentor for young business leaders across the state.
Katie is fearless. I think she is the type of person who is ready to just charge forward and is willing to make things happen, whether there's a clear path or not. She doesn't need someone to show her how to do something. She will just make it happen, and I think that is what has made her so successful. I think she has an amazing leadership style of, for one, leading by example, and she empowers the team. So she helps people figure out the answer to their questions, and she taught me so much just by helping me figure it out on my own.
She's accepted people's inputs as to how the business should be run. She's trusting all these mid-20-year-olds on average to run the business, essentially, make decisions that could greatly affect the client's work positively or negatively. And I think the fact that her baby, she's able to kind of let the reins go and let other people take control is really huge for the success of that business.
Happy Medium has grown to nearly 20 full-time employees since incorporating in 2011. This Des Moines-based agency continues to evolve beyond a traditional advertising agency.
The landscape's always changing, and I know Katie operates under an adapt or die principle. So if you're not willing to change, you're probably going to die off eventually. I don't think we'll be that 100-person agency, but I don't think we'll probably stay this size forever. I think we'll continue reaching out to new kind of clients, new national clients, getting new work, getting really exciting work, and continuing to grow our reputation here in Des Moines as well. And I think it just also represents that we've got fresh ideas and that we are willing to change to what the market is. We're not stuck in old ways, and that doesn't mean we can't have older people here, and it doesn't mean that we can't hire even younger people, but it'll be interesting to see if the median age keeps the same or grows upward as Katie and the rest of us grow older. We'll see.
Over the past 5 years, Katie Patterson has learned a lot about operating a business, and she has grown into a confident CEO. Looking back, Katie is thankful she had the courage to leave the security of a full-time job and become an entrepreneur.
I think anybody that wants to start a business should definitely absolutely consider it. I think it's, something that people shouldn't just think on a whim and assume that they can't. They definitely can. I think that my advice would be to be prepared that if you start a business and you own a business, you are no longer for the rest of your life a person with a job. You are a person that you have a company, and it is a complete lifestyle transition. Not necessarily bad, just something to be really, prepared for. Every single other person here, at the end of the day, isn't responsible for making sure 18 paychecks go out and that the lights stay on in this building and that the clients are happy, and they all play a role in that, but that pressure that goes on your shoulders as your company grows can be really intense, and you have to be prepared for that. This is the first career I've ever had that I come in and I'm super fired up every single day, day after day, year after year. I can still name on one hand the amount of bad work days I've had where you just feel you're not feeling it, and in 5 years that's truly a blessing, to be able to be that really excited about your life every day, and it is such a big part of your life, so it's really nice to be that excited about the thing that you spend so much time at.
Change can be frightening, but also very exciting. Katie embraces change. She uses it to fuel new ideas and to keep her young company moving forward.